create this beautiful smooth ambience. And the first example is answering steps. Let's take a listen to this loop. So we have this very cool lead sound, but we don't have any answer to it. We have space kind of the first quarter of the bar, so we can kind of use this space to answer this lead sound. We have a similar very aggressive sound over here coming from my MFA's Diva preset pack. Together, we kind of have interlocked play between the lead sound, the main lead, and the answering candy. See how much difference it makes with and without. Formant vocals. I have this remix that I'm working on lately. The problem is there's no playfulness in the vocal. So many people do this pitched version of the original vocal layered on the bottom of the vocal. Together they make a lot of sense. Gets the vocal a bit feathered, but the main Formant candy is actually creating this emphasize words. For example, in this case, we have this word. In the second half, we have this one. Both of them I want to emphasize. I took the same vocal, pitch down 12 semitones and play with the formants. Pan to the right, second one pan to the left. And together, they really emphasize that emotion at the end. Gorgeous. Another very popular ear candy lately is the LFO rolls. I have actually made a short video about it with the synthesizers. I will put it here so you can take a look. But now we will make it with the sampler. So we have this loop. First we have this ambient part. And then this main vocalist synth comes in. Problem over here is a bit too empty. So we need Candies to fill up a little bit. To do this trick, you just need a simpler device from Ableton, and there's just a simple percussion sample on top. The trick comes in with playing the length of the sample. So if I hold this and click the loop and decrease the length, take a listen what happens. Right? Lately got very popular. Then you play a long note and then you automate the length parameters. And a little bit effects on top of that. Really cool ambient lead candy. And take a listen how it feels the track. Making not ear candy things into ear candy things. This can be easily made by stripping down the track or leaving one big elements alone. I want to use this sound. It has this really huge vibe into it, but using it together with the rest of the tracks wouldn't create the same effect. Let's say I'm using it here, right? It's too busy. It's not really like ear candy anymore. But if we strip everything down and leave this guy alone over here, fulfills that ear candy effect. Cool. Vocal throws. Vocal throws basically means taking a piece, a word at the end of the vocal a cappella and sending into the reverb and using it as an ambient sound when the vocal ends. So we have this part around the end of first verse. And then we have change of the mood here. But I'm thinking like because there's a really huge empty space over here, we can use a vocal throw into a delay and fill it up. What we need to do first have an echo in the delay you want to use. We have a 1/8 dotted delay. I want this really sustained delay, so a lot of feedback on top. If we just send this one to here, for example, we want this tail, but we don't want the delay over here. Hence the name vocal throw. So we are throwing the vocal into reverb or delay. There's a different ways of doing it, but easiest way of doing this is actually just automating the send around the word that you want to throw into the delay, like this. you can immediately realize there's one more problem because we are sending here, the delay comes in before the vocal ends. So you can freeze and flatten it, use it manually. If you're a bit lazy, like me, go to the delay and sidechain it to itself. While the vocal sings, we are ducking the delay quite a bit, can increase release even smoother. Smoother influx of delay. Don't worry about this volume increasing too much because you may want to have this first initial a bit louder to pop that throw in the mix. Beautifully filled up the space. If you want to, when the first synth hits right here, bring the feedback down here to 0. And that will be even more cleaner. Adlibs and answering vocals. So adlibs are basically throwing in some random words or some ahs or ohs to fill up the ambience. And the back vocals are just the different versions of the original vocal to flavor up the things. If you listen right here, you will see that we have a space to maybe utilize an answer. Over here we have this one chopped from the original vocals, really pushing them into the certain space. In this case we are using this EQ and overdrive right over here without. It's just a regular vocal, right? When we push this, it will really change the mood. And together now. Gorgeous, isn't it? Another adlibs ideas could be some things like this. Right, this is a perfect adlib, for example, just ah or the O supports the lead now here. Right, it's gorgeous. Another super easy and useful ear candy is shimmer sounds. For example, I have this remake of Bicep track, sounds like this. It's a very beautiful mix in the sense of the elbow percussions, so there's not really much room for classic style ear candies, right? So we have this high bell, very shimmer synth sound. It's just a developed patch, basic sawtooth with really high pitch. Hence, if you have a track that is really busy, this can still cut through the mix and give a character to the track. The one thing that you should be careful about with shimmers, they can be really overwhelmed. So use them really sparsely. By the way, I have full bicep tutorial. I will edit it here. You can take a look if you want to see how it is made. Responsive percussions. I want you to listen percussions closely here. It is very cool. It's not really grooving. So here comes the fill percussions. First one, if you take a listen to bongos. Right at the end of this one, just answering could sound like this. Each of these samples are actually coming from different percussion loops. I just cut it down. They almost sound like it's a single percussion. The main reason for that is actually putting them inside the same room always make them kind of the same instrument. You should also realize that I'm taking off this part when I use an answering or fill percussion so that there is not two of them playing at the same time. Here again. Isn't that so playful? Same thing with the claps like this one. And then we can even emphasize more with some ambient hits. Once you add them together, hear how much it changes the playfulness of the overall track. Automating return channels. This is one of the things that I use so many times, it almost feels like an abusive relationship. Idea is quite simple. Putting ambient effects on your return channels. I often use shimmer reverbs and automating the send amount at the parts that you want to have a bit more emphasized ambience. Right here, I'm taking some of the elements first and then afterwards I'm going into the break. In the hi-hat part, I start sanding them to make this transition a bit smoother. They get more and more ambient. Heads are blending in. And the same thing over here. Listen closely. almost like crumbled upon the behind, right? It creates this beautiful smooth ambience. You can do this trick with the delays and reverbs or any time effects that you really like. Using reverses for smoother transitions. This is another thing that I use really extensively. I often use things like Output Exhale because they have a lot of different options for this type of sound. So original sound starts like this. Very ambient vocal. What you do, you just render the sound, reversed version, regular version, blend them in together to create this really folkloric transition. Very smooth. You can actually do this with anything that you like. Here is an example with the noise. And here an example of reverse pad sounds. The same idea. Another example of this one will be using cymbals. We can quickly do it one together. Grab a crash like this and reverse it. R. Smooth transient a bit more. Get a reverb. Probably a delay on top of that. Lingers a bit after the transition. Let's use something like ping pong. You can use reverse technique with anything really. Using sample instruments. This one is very overlooked because I think electronic dance music producers often tend to forget about the sample-based instruments. For example, lately I'm playing quite a bit with the arcade. They have tons of different creative sample-based instruments, and now I think they have arpeggiator line as well, so you can play like an instrument as well. Let's for example take this one. How it works is you basically will have this different type of samples already. For example, a bit jiggling, I come up with this kind of ear candy. With regular synthesizer, you will never come up with something like this, right? And together, hear how much ambience that adds. By the way, if you also want to improve your workflow, I just made a video about improving workflow. I will put it here, so take a look.